Hello, and this is Making Sense of It. The Glasser Institute for Choice Theory in July, the first part of July, held their conference, and there was a lot of people that are a part of the Glasser Institute joined in, and we are privileged today to have Mary Hestand and Wendall Walker here to share with us some of their insights. So,
Mm.
welcome to everyone. Hello, Wendell. Hello, Mary.
Hello.
So it's good to have you with us, and you're going to share with us some thoughts today.
I am. And
Okay.
and Wendell is as well. We both are, yes.
Okay. Well, we're ready when you are for you to
All right.
start us off.
I will start. I think there's something in my way that I can't get it out to share. There it is. All right, and you can see that, and I
Yes.
will do in presentation mode. Okay. Ah,
Oh,
yay. So, oh, well, there you go. I did have the I guess privilege of attending in St. Louis, and these are a list of the conferences that I attended. Every one of them was wonderful in their own way. Just for today, I decided to kind of focus really on one, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Gloria Cissay's presentation just because it was so amazing. It was Taranga, and she said Taranga was a practical approach to nurturing the whole person, and it has choice theory concept with an African-centered psychology. And that I'm not going to say a lot more because she is looking to get that published. So I want to make sure she gets everything published and finalized before we start sharing a lot. But be on the lookout for that. It's going to be some really amazing stuff. To use personally, I think, and if you're working in private practice or if you're working in a school, I think it can be applied to any of those settings. And then the other one that I thought I would focus on today has to do with information that Dr. Thomas Parrish presented, and he gave us just a whole folder full of information. He was very free with his materials, as was everyone else. If you asked, they would send you PowerPoints and everything. It was just, again, it was an amazing conference with a lot of great information. But the three things that his overview of his presentation was choosing to be well, resolving conflicts in life, and then again, just resources. He gave us a lot of resources. One of the quotes that I don't know if he put it up on the screen, if I found it in the information, was remember that life should always be a search for positive alternatives. And I loved that quote. It really resonated with me. And one thing that I think that I am naturally kind of a positive person, but what I forget is when I'm not so positive, sometimes I forget that I have that choice, because if it's not coming naturally, I don't think about that I have to do it. Or I shouldn't say have to, but that I can choose to do something different. I do get stuck sometimes in that negativity, forgetting that I still have that choice, that I can be positive and look at things a little differently. He talked about 80% rule A and rule B, and I don't know that I've ever heard these put this way, so I wanted to share them just because I thought it really did strike a chord with me, and it made me think that 80% of the time you'll communicate well with others who are like you or who you like, one of those two. And then 80 rule B, 80% of the time, you will communicate poorly with others who you don't like or who are not like you. And I had to kind of think about that and process that I think that was true, and more than likely it is. So it gave me something to think about and something to work toward, because there is a 100% rule that I can communicate effectively 100% of the time if I'm willing to help people get what they need or want, and in turn I'm more likely to get what I want to. So just something to think about as you communicate with others, and you strive to be a better person. He also talked about the difference between the golden rule and the platinum rule, and I'd never really heard of the platinum rule before. But the golden rule is do unto others as you would want done to you, which I have heard of. But the platinum rule is do unto others as they want done unto them, not what you think is best for them. And he talks about some personality profiles or social types, and amiables, thinkers, intuitors, or drivers. And it made me pause to think, where do I fit in that? And how do I communicate with those type of people? And what do I do to better connect with people in different personality profiles or personality styles? And then again, he talks about being need fulfillment. And he gave us some rules to kind of follow. And I picked out some of them. I don't think I picked all of them, but be patient, be optimistic, maintain a positive mental attitude, always smile, never frown, and be sincere in every situation. And he talked again about that platinum rule, and then consider the 80% rule and implement the 100% rule, something to strive for, something that I definitely need to work on. And in his resources, he had Og Mandano's 10 Habits That Foster Greater Happiness, which I just loved. So I thought I would share. Greet each day with love in your heart. Persist until you succeed. Tell yourself you're God's greatest miracle, or whoever your higher power is. Live each day as though it is your last. And tell yourself today you will master your emotions. And today you will laugh at the world. Today you will multiply your value 100-fold. And he says, wishes are an opiate. Instead, we must set our goals and then do what's needed to realize them. And demonstrate to all concerned the enthusiasm you have for what you're doing. And then you must have faith in yourself and your creator, whoever that is for you. He talked about, he had the friendly alphabet, and I put my pictures of my friends from St. Louis, but he goes through the whole alphabet. I did A through H, but your friends accept who you are. Your friends believe in you. They count on you. They demand nothing from you. They encourage you. They help you feel joy, and they go the extra mile and help you when you're down. And what I loved about just the friendly alphabet and just talking about friends, it reminds me of love and belonging in those basic needs. And it helped me have fun while I was in St. Louis, being with my friends. He also had examining the basic principles of friendship. So friendship were a big part of his presentation. Friends are the ultimate form of social security. The most valuable gift you can get is a friend. And good friends are usually great listeners. Good friends look for the good in you, and then they tell you when they find it. And friendships are like a martyr. They bind people together. And that was really it. I went through that really quickly, but I just wanted to end by saying I hope to see you all in Chicago for the WGI International Conference. It is also going to be in July 3rd through the 6th. And I understand that we're going to be staying at the Palmer House. So that is how I will conclude. And if you have any questions, please ask.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That was deep, but also enlightening, very enlightening.
I really did attend a number of great presentations, and it did make you think the things that they said and personalize and start trying to apply.
Yeah. All right. All right. And you have a partner there with you?
I do have a partner. My friend Wendall's supposed to bring up the rear.
Hello, Wendall.
Bring it all home.
Okay. I did not attend Dr. Parrish's thing. So, Mary, that was very helpful and thought-provoking. It's exciting to see other people who are making major contributions to the world of relationships and people. And their stuff is so compatible with choice theory, but additive, and the words are slightly different too. So all of that was very helpful. I got some of it written down and highlighted too. So I thought I might quickly, even though we've got Sue and Marriott and I attended the conference, others who might look at this later would not have seen this. I wanted to start with, in the program, they published the Gift US Our Vision, and that's to teach the world choice theory. Okay. And then they had 5 things that they wanted to focus on for this particular conference. And they were to honor Dr. William Glasser and his work on approximately the 10th anniversary of his passing. That'll be in another week and a half, August 23rd, would be the 10-year thing. Welcome, Tanisha. The second one was to for the conference, build relationships and connect with old and new friends. Thirdly, to spread awareness and show benefits about choice theory reality therapy in all areas of people's lives. Number 4, to renew, reimagine, and revitalize the vision so that participants are motivated to volunteer and support the Gift US organization. All right. And then thirdly, to honor his legacy, Dr. Glasser, by continuing the growth and expansion of choice theory and reality therapy concepts, information, knowledge, etc. And I always like to add in the choice theory, reality therapy, quality schools, and lead management, because we've been trying to see that those will help us move into all areas of society. So that was the vision and the mission. There was a nice bio of Dr. Glasser in the program here with a nice photo of him and highlighting some of his works, the number of books, his influence, the number of awards that he had to. So that was a nice piece and a tribute to him. Also, the program included Mary, some of you may know, is on the board, and all but 2 of the board members were there. In fact, there before the conference to participate in board meetings and one-on-one conversations. A lot of work got done, and there's a good many things that are going to start happening as part of this refocusing the vision and that sort of thing too. I appreciated all the work that the board members did. Okay, Brian Patterson, we're fortunate to have him as our executive officer. He has such a wide background in management and in instructional things and instructional programs. There's so many different organizations in Arizona that he's a part of and presenting to. He does a great job of kicking us off. We had a faculty day before the conference started. And on that faculty day, one of the things that Brian did well is put kind of a picture out of what he was hoping might happen during this time, and then make a couple of things to get going, and then create an involvement activity. Why don't you get a partner at your table and talk about this for a couple of minutes and share? So that's a nice reminder to, as much as possible in a group. Now, it's a little different if a person's just speaking for an hour and you're the keynote speaker. But if you've got a day or a half a day program, then you can spend a little time involving people. And then when that happens, I think they're considerably more ready to listen and pick up and involve when other people are speaking too. One of the things that was interesting is that Brian, with all of his outreach to other organizations, handed out this outstanding handout. First of all, I'd like you to see the color scheme on it. And the whole thing was talking about engage, E-N-G-A-G-E. And the person cleverly used the E to describe different things, okay? And it's an immaculate handout. I was surprised that there was no credit on the handout. The person, and I asked Brian if he knew who did it, and he tried to narrow it down. He thought it came from a certain place and maybe a certain person. Something this good, put your name on it. If you develop a handout yourself, and as I'm going to start trying to get into some PowerPoints. I don't today. I'm just going to kind of fire these things off some notes that I had. But I've had people give me a really good handout that I said, can I get this out in my training? And they said, yeah. And then I put their name on it. Type it and put it on and superimpose it. So and to give credit to others, and they use my handouts too, but this was an excellent handout. It was talking about an involvement activity early on too. One of the things that I've got, and I don't know if I thought about it or he said it or somebody else said it too, and I'm going to do that with this one today. I did see the thank you, Sue and Sharon, for your reflections on the conference. And I've watched that recently. Mona, thank you for making that available. And it occurred to me that what I need to do periodically, besides getting nice feedback from other people, is to watch a video of myself too. There's always things, hey, Joe, I didn't realize I did this or whatever, but watching ourselves, because the effectiveness of our presenting ideas could be even more effective if I discontinue some distracting things and add in. So watching a video of ourselves, I think, is important. If you, one of the things I invite you to do is, most of us are quite familiar with CTRT, that sort of thing. And I invite you to look for confirmation of things that you know and know really well. Look for things that there's Alice on Sue's video. Oh, that's right, they're traveling together today. Yeah, you're trying to throw us off, Alice. We recognize you. And Sue's shoulder. It's interesting for me to hear something that ties in with something I know, but I've never heard it said that way before. And some of those things that Mary shared from Tom Parrish, from Og Mandino, were like that. Somebody saying it a different way too. And one of the things that Brian shared was, remember that boss, sometimes, we talk about lead manager versus boss manager. And Brian said, remember that boss spelled backwards is double S-O-B. I thought that was kind of cute. So you might be able to use that somewhere, sometime or another. Somewhere in that conversation with Brian, he talked about early on, reality therapy worked so well and was so effective, and people just glommed onto it, especially in corrections and drug and alcohol addiction work. And it worked so well. There was no significant psychological explanation of why it worked well. It just did. And so Brian's point was, it worked so well, couldn't explain why, doesn't matter. It works, just use it. So I thought that was pretty good. Just keep using it until you can. And I thought about this, you could teach reality therapy. Say, I'll be back next month. Use this, use the WDEP or whatever. I'll be back next month to teach you choice theory and to explain why what you learned works so well. So it's kind of an interesting thing there too. But those are some things from Brian. Stephen Tracy, I may have been during the faculty day, gave an interesting quote from Glasser. There's a lot of people turn their noses down or get their frown down or what have you, thinking about kids in an alternative school, the kids that have been kicked out of school or sent there, what have you. And Glasser says the educators who work there really have, on the one hand, an easier job. And especially if they're choice theory trained. The others have a hard job because they're finding the kids. The quality school choice theory trained educator is not fighting the kids, is not in opposition. And since these are kids that are disconnected and don't have relationships, this educator has the clean slate to go in and do all the things that start to work to develop a relationship. And the kids just glom onto that and go for it. And Glasser said a number of times that all a kid needs is a relationship with one responsible adult. And thank goodness for all these teachers that have done that with their kids who come from challenging home situations. In the Federal Aviation Administration, they talk about traffic controllers, air traffic controllers getting credited with a save. You know, Delta 1923, Sebring, Profiline, and the air controller goes into action. They've got their emergency steps. Delta 39 turned left immediately, heading back to the front. Oh, wow. That was close. That could have been a disaster. So they literally get credited with saves. And so my point is, look at all these wonderful teachers in school with kids that have given up. And they get a new teacher that works with them and develops a relationship, and the kid turns around. And so there we have a save. It's a nice analogy, I think, too. So Stephen Tracy quoting Glasser's, the teachers in these alternative schools really can have an easier job because they've got an opportunity to build this relationship, you know, too. And somewhere along the line, well, Steve Hammond, who gave the keynote, and maybe toward the end of the thing, he was making a plea to all people connected with the Institute to consider making a donation to the Institute. You know, we pay membership fees, but I could make a donation. I think a couple of times I made a small donation, but what I'm going to do now is make at least one donation a year in addition to my membership. It's important to me for the Institute to survive and go, and they need some dollars to do that. And we're working on some other things too. But anyway, so I give myself credit for this. Give a gift to gift. Give a GIFT to GIFCT, you know, too. So I thought that was pretty clever. You know, give a gift to gift. All right. Steve Hammond was a keynote speaker. And one of the things that he reminded us of is that one of Glasser's key phrases, and it's like, if you do nothing else, quit trying to control each other. Quit trying to control others. If I could just start with that, even if I don't have these other positive building relationship skills, if I could just stop doing that. Yeah, that's hard for people to do. They say, well, what am I going to do? Well, I don't know, but just quit doing that. And you can almost guarantee that the temperature will go down a little bit. Some of the discipline issues will go down a little bit because there's nothing to fight against anymore. Now, you don't let people tear up and endanger the psychological safety or physical safety of other people, but you just quit hounding them. You know, people say, if I've told him once, I've told him 100 times. Okay. Do you think 101 is going to do it? Probably not. That would be my guess. Well, instead of doing that, let's talk about something you might do differently. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, I understand that, but it's tough. You empathize, but let's put our heads together. You know? But just let's stop doing these other things. And then the person kind of gives up. That's good. We're giving up on that too. But as some of you know, others know, Steve Hammond was the very first principal at the St. Patrick's Catholic Church school, private school in Norfolk, Virginia. And I think grades kindergarten through 8 or something like that. It's not a high school, okay? And Steve's big thing. Steve retired last year. I've elected myself as his Florida publicist. Look for opportunities to invite Steve Hammond to come to your area to speak to educators, to speak to anybody. He's available now, and he's got such a marvelous 17-year history in a school where the quality and the outcome and the learning was just superb. Discipline problems were virtually nowhere. It's just marvelous to go and visit the school. Steve Hammond. Somewhere or another along the line, Steve learned that Glasser, even though he was fairly introverted, loved music. And I don't know if Steve asked him or somebody else asked Glasser what his favorite song was. And Glasser says it was the Beatles song, Let It Be. Let it be, let it be, let it be love, let it be. There's our words of wisdom, let it be. You can Google the song and then see the lyrics, too. But then you could understand why it was a favorite song of Glasser. It's the choice theory condensed into a song, okay? I was reminded, I knew that Glasser, we had, we've got organizations and people in maybe 25 countries, and Steve went through a bunch of those. And just as a reminder, Japan, Ireland, Canada, Australia, Malaysia, Colombia, South Korea, Croatia, Slovenia, Singapore, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and many others where we've got active people. And we'll see that at the conference in Chicago that Mary spoke about next year, July 3 through 6 at the Palmer House. Another quote from Glasser: learning adds quality to our life. That's a great phrase too. And somewhere along the line, I don't know where it came from, but we won't find our future in our past. There are a lot of clever sayings about not focusing on the past and focusing on the present, and not focusing on the future so much, except for some direction to go in. But this is a good one. We won't find our future in our past. Okay. And somewhere along the line there, I guess while Steve was talking, I was reminded that a year or two back, the U.S. Army advertised a lot, and I thought it was impactful. Be an army of one, you. And I can imagine that would appeal to a lot of young people. Be an army of one, yes. I mean, you can join the army, what have you, but be an army of one. And so I kind of turned that to myself, be a choice theory army of one, regardless of what the organization's doing or other people or nobody around me or whatever, I can be an army of one. Army may be a little strong. I can be an advocate of one. That might be a softer, and look for ways to share things without others perceiving that it's proselytizing too. Okay, that's that done there. Steve, a couple of things that Steve said, tying with what Mary got from Parrish and from Bandino. Find people to laugh with, and the power of forgiveness, and do one tiny thing for another person that might be of help of some sort, and Steve's big thing, and in the school, because the school was a Catholic school, servant community leaders, be of service to others, be of service to the community. And we see that too. I want to ditto a little bit, changing gears. I attended the same presentation that Mary did with Dr. Gloria Cece. Gloria was one of the Glasser scholars. They picked a dozen people, and Glasser sponsored, they were all doctoral students in programs, and they had to sign up and be cleared or something. And Glasser funded them through the entire certification process, these dozen people. I'm not sure how many of them are still connected, but Gloria was one of them. Gloria has since gotten her doctorate degree. She's a DSW. She has formed, she does all kinds of things in the community around Macon, Georgia. She has formed a business, an LLC. It's a counseling center. It's the Choice Theory Center of the South or something like that. She employs people who get paid to work there. She's an approved internship site for a number of schools in the local area with counseling students and something like that. She has done so much. And then she was adding, as Mary said, a focus on this Taranga, giving an African perspective to the work of counseling and working with people. And part of this is focusing on collective community living and not just an individual, too. And she used a term I had not heard before, but it immediately made sense: Euro-American psychologies. So the world is pervasive with Euro-American psychologies, but leaving out perhaps like African or other cultural perspectives on the psychology of people, you know. And this was a nice reminder too, and this was tough for Glasser as a psychiatrist in training, because psychiatry follows the medical model, and Glasser was not at all aligned with the medical model. In fact, after he finished his residency, his internship at the Veterans Hospital in West Los Angeles, for 7 years, he worked at the Ventura School for Girls as a contractor. Never once in that 7 years in his private practice did he get a referral from anybody that was a part of his residency and internship, because he was a heretic. We know that in 30 years of private practice as an MD psychiatrist, he never once prescribed psychiatric medication. That makes him an outlaw there. And people just cannot imagine that. And I sponsored him in Atlanta at Georgia State University, and he's telling his story that he worked at a locked up unit at the Veterans Hospital in West Los Angeles. And somebody knew of his work and said, and I'm just going to make this up, but let's say there were 25 to 30 patients in that locked up unit. And his supervisor said, I'd like to see, in a positive, supportive way, I'm striking up a goal for you to get all of these folks out of this locked up unit and into the broader community of that hospital. And Glasser said to the audience at Georgia State University in Atlanta, we didn't make it. We didn't make it. We only got 3/4 of them out. And they had been there forever. And everybody's mindset is that they were going to be there forever. You know? That was all part of his work that really got him started in the thing. Gloria talked about avoiding some of the more traditional psychiatric terms. And then this was a nice part of the African mindset. With a counseling client, an individual in front of you, or a student in an educational arena or whatever, we're not just sitting with an individual, but in fact, we're sitting with them, and it's like their culture and their family are right behind them, all around them. So I'm working with them in light of all of that, and not just them as an individual apart from everything else too. Okay.
Okay.
I want to just highlight that Dr. Lois De Silva Nepton did a wonderful presentation about creating an environment of psychological safety, and then how much positive and involvement from people in the group can come from that. Whereas if people feel like they're going to be criticized or embarrassed or what have you, they'll sit quietly. And once you invite them to get talking in a positive environment, there's all kinds of stuff that comes from that. So those are highlights from some of the workshops that I attended. I was very satisfied. It was a small group. Part of the aspect of the small group made it easier. Of course, I made a choice, as Mary was talking about earlier, that made it easier to get around and see and talk to and meet new people. If there's 150 or 250, like we have had it sometimes, it's easy even not see or meet people too. So it facilitated that. You know,
Okay, well,
don't
thanks.
save
Very
your
good.
money. The conference is expensive, you know, so good. All right, thank you, Mona.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Mary. I appreciate your PowerPoint and explanation. And thank you, Wendell. And we're going to close the airways. If anyone has questions, well, we'd be glad to speak with you.